Hello everyone, welcome back to the Excel to SQL series. This is episode number 5, video number 5, and in this video we will be understanding aliases in Excel versus SQL. What is an alias in Excel? When you give a custom name to a worksheet, to a named range, to a range of cells, or you provide a custom name or a specific name for individual cells or something within a formula, this is called as an alias. So for example, you can call your worksheet tab whatever you like. By default, when you open an Excel file, it will be sheet 1, and as you keep on adding sheets, the number of sheets will change from sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4. You can change that to whatever you want. Similarly, you can have a specific name given to a column, a list of products, or a specific cell as well. What are the rules that you need to follow while using an alias or a named range in Excel? You have to keep the names simple and meaningful. The whole point is so that when you share files with others, it is easy for them to understand and for them to use as well. I will also show you where in Excel you can go and see all the named ranges that have been given in the Excel file. Avoid spaces and special characters, essentially because the whole idea is to keep it simple. Excel aliases are not case sensitive. This is very important. And the other thing that you need to ensure is you cannot use a function name to as a range name or a named range when you're giving an alias. Let's quickly take a look at that. So this is our data set. What I will do right now is I will just extract on the right hand side. I will extract a list of our subcategories, right? That's it. Let me zoom in. We don't need to look at the whole data set. This is my subcategories. I'm just pasting the range as a value, removing the formula. The formula is not important right now. So I have a range of cells, right? So the first thing that I talked about was worksheet name. So I can give a name to my worksheet. This is my sheet tab within the worksheet. Each of these is known as a sheet tab. If I were to add something, it would call it sheet 1 because I've already renamed the existing worksheets, right? Now, the other way you can name this is, give a name is in Excel an alias. I will select this entire range, Control Shift down. I'll press Control Backspace to come back up. And now, if you pay attention on the left hand side, right, this is a formula bar. We'll not be doing anything here. We have something called a name box in Excel, which shows the first location, cell of the selection, which is S2, because that is where my selection starts from. What we will type in here is subcategories, right? And you have to press enter for it to get saved. So now if I were to write equal to subcategories, you will see that it will give me that range as a in the place of a formula. And what I can essentially do is I can write equal to subcategories and it will refer to this range. When I press enter, it will give me the output. I can also give names to individual cells. So for example, if I wanted to give a name to a specific cell or a column, right? If I would just wanted to call this column profit, I can do the same thing, select, go here and change the name. Now something that you need to ensure is there are some special characters that don't work here. A space does not work here, right? You must enter a valid reference you want to go to or type a valid name for selection. It will not allow you to put anything apart from normal text. The specific rules, I'll put a link in the description of what the specific rules are and you can go through those. But generally, something like a text will always work. If you want to write two words, write them together, uppercase, use uppercase, lowercase, or I think you can put an underscore as well, profit underscore total. Yeah, an underscore also works, right? So you can do that. Where do you find these ranges in Excel? So right now I have one named range, which is subcategory. How do I know how many named ranges do I have? So what we will do for that is, in my ribbon, I will come to my data tab, right? Let me zoom out a little, right? In my, no, in my formula tab, not my data tab, in my formula tab, under the group defined name, you can define the name from here as well. So you click on this and it'll ask you what is the range that you want to define, what is the name, what is the scope, will it be relevant to this workbook or other workbooks as well. And if you click on name manager here, it'll show you what are the named ranges in your current workbook. Perfect. Now let's hop on back to the PowerPoint so that we can look at how we do this exact same thing in SQL as well. So in SQL, it is used for temporary renaming. When in Excel you do it, you can always refer to it again and again and again. But in SQL, in every query, you would have to define the alias again and again. Whereas in Excel, you have to define it once and you can refer to it again and again. So temporary renaming of tables or columns in the database query. The whole point is, like it was in Excel, using an alias in programming in Excel is to make your queries more readable, make your code more readable, understandable, and easy for users to comprehend, right? Because always remember that everyone looking at your code might not be a technical person, so you have to simplify it for them to understand. And the best way to do that is, one of the best ways, or one of the ways of doing that, is using aliases. Also remember, very important, an alias in SQL is applied within the SQL query and does not change the underlying database structure. So if I rename a column while I'm applying some aggregation in the query, it will not change the name of my column in the database, right? Common use cases include table aliases for joint tables or column aliases for renaming columns in query results. We had done something similar last time. We'll quickly look at that. So as an example, if you will not get into the details of this query, it is just that for an example perspective, if I write select orders from orders.order ID as order number, right? Customers.customer name as customer. So every time you refer to a column or a table, you can give it an alias so that it is easy for users to understand, and the output has those aliases as the column headers. What are the rules? We have to use the word as. This will be the keyword for us to define aliases in an SQL query. In case there is a space between, let's say we're using two words as an alias and there is a space, we would have to put it in double quotes or in square brackets, otherwise it'll not work, it'll give us an error. Ideally, it is also advised to avoid spaces and special characters for compatibility. And unlike Excel, where a named range or an alias is not case sensitive, is case insensitive. A, an alias in SQL is case sensitive, right? Also, you should avoid, like similarly to Excel, like you cannot name a range, like if I selected the subcategory range and for some weird reason if I wanted to name it VLOOKUP, right? I can't do that because a function with that name already exists. Similarly, in SQL, you can't do it because if you want to give an alias to a table called as a select, the word select, you can't do that because select is a clause in SQL. I think we're done with the PowerPoint now. Let's come back to our database. Right. So when we were here last time, wherein we calculated total sales by market, and if you remember, we had written total sales, we had added the alias as for total sales. If I just quickly, to run the code, you select the code, press Control Enter, and it runs the code for you, right? Total sales. Now, if I were to add a space here, do you see? It changes the color, it tells me something. Now, if I were to run this code, it will not give me an output. There is some error here, but if I was to put this in square brackets, this would work. Now, if I press Control Enter, it will work. Now, the space has been included, right? Also, apart from square brackets, if I put this in double quotes, this should also work. I can press run and that will also work. But if you don't want to use square brackets, I think rather than putting a space, if you use a special character, that should work. It would not require you to put any square brackets or double quotes. But the whole idea is use aliases in your queries, and as we proceed with this series, we will be writing some complex queries, and we will have to use aliases, or else, as a new user, as a new learner, even we ourselves, when we come back to the query later on, when we come back to a course later on in any other language as well, it is difficult for us to follow through. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next video in this series. Bye bye. Take care.